I've been a shadow in Kang Jihoon's glass tower for 8 months, invisible while I scrubbed marble floors worth more than my life. Then 3 men cornered me in a parking garage 2 streets from his building, and suddenly Seoul's most ruthless crime lord could see me. They thought they were sending a warning. Instead, they gave him permission to unleash hell. And me? I became the spark that set the entire underworld on fire. This is how a shattered collarbone, for $100,000 in hospital bills, and 6 minutes of pure terror led to the most dangerous love affair I never saw coming. The underground parking garage was poorly lit, shadows pooling in corners where security cameras didn't reach. My shift had run past midnight again, my third double in a week, and exhaustion made my legs feel like lead as I hurried toward my car. 2 more levels down, just 2 more levels, and I could lock myself inside, drive home to Mapo, collapse into bed beside my sister, who probably hadn't eaten dinner, waiting up for me. Behind me, an engine cut off.
Car door slammed.
Male voices echoed off concrete walls. I told myself it meant nothing. People parked here all the time. This was Gangnam, not some back alley. But my pace quickened anyway, keys clutched between my fingers like a weapon I'd never know how to use. The footsteps matched my speed, then exceeded it. Excuse me. Korean, but the accent was wrong. Rough. Not the polished Seoul dialect I'd grown used to hearing. You work upstairs, don't you? In that building? I turned slowly, heart climbing into my throat. 3 men blocked the path to my car, spread out in a formation that left no escape route. The one who'd spoken had a scar bisecting his upper lip, turning his smile into something grotesque. His companions flanked him like wolves, one thin and wiry with dead eyes, the other built like a fighter with knuckles that looked like they'd broken faces before. I'm just leaving, I said, hating how my voice shook. Please let me pass. That uniform. The scarred man pointed at the navy blazer I wore, the subtle gold crest embroidered on the breast pocket. You work for Kang Jihoon. In his building. For him. Terror flooded my veins, cold and immediate. I clean offices, I said desperately. I don't know anything about the owner. I just work there, please. Just work there. He laughed, ugly and sharp. You hear that? She just works there. Like that makes a difference. Like working for Kang doesn't make her fair game. The thin one moved closer, circling to cut off my retreat. We have a message for your boss. About respect. About territory. About what happens when people forget who really runs these streets.
I'm nobody. He whispered.
I'm not important, I don't know anything, just let me go. Please just let me go. The first blow came from the side, a fist slamming into my shoulder with enough force to spin me around. I stumbled, tried to catch myself, but hands grabbed my jacket and yanked me backward. My feet left the ground. Then I was falling, hitting concrete so hard my vision whited out. Pain exploded through my left shoulder and up my neck. I tried to scream, but a boot caught my stomach, driving the air from my lungs in a sick wheeze. Fingers tangled in my hair, wrenching my head back. Tell Kang Jihoon, the scarred man hissed in my ear, that the Choi Syndicate owns Gangnam now. Tell him hiding in glass towers won't protect him. Tell him we can reach anyone, anywhere, anytime. Another kick, this one to my ribs. I tasted blood and concrete dust. Felt something crack in my shoulder when the fighter grabbed my arm and twisted. The pain was indescribable, white-hot and consuming, spreading through my entire body like fire.
Please, I sobbed.
Please stop, I'll tell him whatever you want, just stop. They didn't stop. Not until I went limp, not until consciousness started slipping away like water through my fingers. I heard them rifling through my bag, taking my phone, my wallet, everything. Heard one of them spit on the concrete beside my face. Pathetic, someone said. Then footsteps receding. An engine starting. Tires squealing as they drove away. I lay there on cold concrete, every breath agony, my left arm screaming with pain I couldn't process. Blood pooled under my cheek. My vision swam. Get up, my mind screamed. Move. Get help. But my body wouldn't respond. Security found me 20 minutes later. I don't remember much after that, just fragments. Flashing lights. Urgent voices speaking rapid Korean I couldn't follow through the fog of pain. An ambulance. Someone cutting away my jacket. Hands touching my shoulder, and me screaming until everything went black. I woke up in a hospital bed with my sister Yuna gripping my hand so tightly I could feel my pulse throbbing against her palm. Hospital lights hurt my eyes. Everything hurt. My entire left side felt like it had been shattered and reassembled wrong. Nina, I croaked. My throat was raw from screaming I didn't remember. Oh God. Tears streamed down her face. Lei, you're awake. You're okay. The doctors said you're going to be okay. What happened? The question emerged as barely a whisper. Your collarbone is broken. Fractured in 2 places. She wiped her eyes with her free hand. 3 broken ribs, internal bruising, a concussion. She couldn't finish. They beat you unconscious in the parking garage. Security footage caught it. The police are involved.
Panic seized me.
The police can't know. I tried to sit up and immediately regretted it as pain lanced through my shoulder. They can't investigate, Yuna. It'll make everything worse. It's already worse. A male voice came from the doorway.
Deep.
Controlled. Absolutely furious underneath the calm surface. I turned my head slowly and my breath caught. Kang Jihoon stood in the doorway of my hospital room like he owned it, which he probably did. 6'3", broad-shouldered, wearing a black suit that cost more than 6 months of my salary. His face could have been carved from granite, all sharp angles and dark eyes that missed nothing. I'd seen him exactly 3 times in 8 months, always from a distance, always moving through corridors I was actively cleaning so I could disappear. Now he was here, looking at me, actually seeing me. Mr. Kang, I managed. I'm sorry, I'll pay for the hospital bills. I know this is expensive. I'll work extra shifts. I promise I won't let this affect my job. Something dangerous flickered in his expression. You think I'm here about money? I don't understand. He moved into the room with predatory grace, stopping at the foot of my bed. 3 men attacked my employee in a parking garage 2 blocks from my building. Beat her unconscious. Left her bleeding on concrete. Then had the audacity to tell her to deliver a message to me. He paused. That makes it very much my business. Yuna squeezed my hand, a silent warning I couldn't interpret. I just clean offices, I said. I'm not important enough for you to worry about.
You work for me.
That makes you important. His tone allowed no argument. And the Choi Syndicate just declared war using you as the opening move. So no, Mississippi Park, you won't be paying for hospital bills. You won't be working extra shifts. And you certainly won't be apologizing for getting attacked in my territory. I stared at him, unable to process what I was hearing. Why do you care? Because they used you to disrespect me. Because they thought working for me made you an acceptable target. His jaw tightened. Because I don't let transgressions like this go unanswered. A doctor entered then, breaking the tension. He examined my charts, explained that I'd need surgery to properly set the collarbone, that recovery would take 6 to 8 weeks minimum. The bill would exceed $40,000, he said, looking apologetic. Does she have insurance? It's handled, Kang said before I could respond. Schedule the surgery. Best surgeon you have. Money is not a concern. After the doctor left, I finally found my voice. I can't accept this. I can't let you pay, it's too much. I already owe the hospital so much money from when my mother was sick, adding this on top of it. How much? His question was sharp.
What?
The existing debt. How much? $380,000, Yuna answered when I couldn't. Our mother had cancer. Treatment didn't work. She died owing more than we'll ever be able to pay back.
Kang pulled out his phone, typed something.
Within seconds it buzzed. Consider it paid. Both the existing debt and the new bills. He looked at me, expression unreadable. You work for me, Mississippi Park. That means you're under my protection. That means when someone hurts you to hurt me, I respond appropriately. I felt tears burning behind my eyes. Why are you doing this? Because 3 men thought they could beat one of my people unconscious and walk away. He moved closer, voice dropping lower. Because you've been cleaning my office for 8 months and I've noticed things. How you alphabetize my books even though no one asked. How you water the plants every Thursday without fail. How you take every available shift because you're drowning in debt you didn't create. His dark eyes held mine. I protect what's mine, Mississippi Park. And whether you realize it or not, you're mine now. The surgery happened the next morning. When I woke up, my shoulder was immobilized in a complex brace, pain medication making everything fuzzy and distant. Yuna sat beside my bed reading, but she wasn't alone. A man in a dark suit stood by the door, arms crossed, watching everything with professional detachment.
Who's that?
I asked groggily. Your security, Yuna said. Mr. Kang assigned someone to watch your room. There are 2 more outside in the hallway. Security? I tried to sit up. Failed. Why do I need security? Because the people who hurt you work for a crime family who now knows you matter to Kang Jihoon. The man by the door spoke for the first time.
I'm Minshik.
I'll be accompanying you everywhere until this situation is resolved. Over the next 3 days, I discovered what it meant to matter to someone like Kang. Nurses came at odd hours to check on me personally. My meals were delivered from restaurants I'd never be able to afford. The hospital administrator visited to assure me all bills were handled. And Kang himself appeared every evening, sitting in the chair Yuna vacated, asking how I felt with an intensity that suggested my answer actually mattered. The 3rd night, he brought footage. Security tape from the parking garage. I need you to confirm identities, he said, setting up a tablet on my bedside table. I know this is difficult, but I need to be certain. The video was grainy but clear enough. 3 men emerging from shadows. Me turning, backing away. The attack happening in brutal detail that made me flinch even through the medication haze. Then them rifling through my things, one of them clearly saying something while looking at my jacket. That's them, I whispered. All 3. Their names are Choi Min-sik, Park Juno, and Kim Tae-won. Kang's voice was flat. Low-level enforcers for the Choi family. They were acting on orders from Choi Dae-sung himself. He paused the video on a frame showing the scarred man's face. This one, Min-sik, he's the one who grabbed your hair. The one who delivered the message. What are you going to do? What needs to be done? He closed the tablet. The Choi Syndicate has been expanding into my territory for months. Testing boundaries. This was their way of announcing they don't fear me anymore. That was a mistake. Kang, I used his first name without thinking. If you retaliate, won't that just make things worse? Start a war? The war already started when they put their hands on you. He looked at me with an expression that was almost gentle. I'm just finishing it. He left before I could argue further. Yuna returned minutes later, face pale. Lei, do you understand what's happening? What you're in the middle of? I think so, I said quietly. A gang war. Territory dispute. And I'm somehow the catalyst. You're not the catalyst. You're the excuse. She sat on the edge of my bed. Kang has been wanting to eliminate the Choi Syndicate for years. They've been challenging him, pushing boundaries, stealing revenue. You getting attacked gave him justification to do what he already wanted. So, I'm just a convenient reason?
No.
Yuna's expression was serious. I've been asking around, talking to people who work in that building. Everyone says the same thing. Kang Jihoon doesn't care about anyone, doesn't notice staff, doesn't involve himself in personal matters. But Lei, he's been here every single night. He paid off debt that has nothing to do with him. He's assigned you security detail normally reserved for family members. Whatever this is, it's not just about territory. I didn't know how to respond to that. So I closed my eyes and pretended to sleep while my mind raced with implications I couldn't fully process. I was released from the hospital 5 days post-surgery with strict instructions. No lifting anything heavier than 5 pounds. Physical therapy 3 times a week. Pain medication as needed. Follow-up appointments weekly. And a security detail that followed me everywhere. Kang had arranged for Yuna and me to move into a different apartment. Safer building, he explained when I protested. Better security. Close enough to the hospital for your appointments. The new place was 3 times the size of our cramped studio in Mapo, all modern appliances and actual separate bedrooms. I can't accept this, I told him the day we moved in. It's too much. You've already done too much. You can and you will. He stood in the living room, hands in his pockets, expression brooking no argument. The Choi family knows you exist now.
Knows you matter to me.
Your old building had no security, no cameras, a front door that didn't lock properly. Here you're protected. For how long? As long as necessary. Possibly forever. He met my eyes. I meant what I said in the hospital, Mississippi Park. You're under my protection now. That doesn't have an expiration date. After he left, Yuna turned to me. You do realize he's completely obsessed with you, right? Like, genuinely fixated. He's just being responsible. I got hurt because of his business. He feels obligated. Lei, men who feel obligated don't visit hospitals every night. Don't pay off hundreds of thousands in debt. Don't move people into luxury apartments and assign round-the-clock security. She shook her head. Whatever Kang Jihoon feels for you, obligation isn't the word. The following week, word reached me through Minsik. 3 Choi syndicate operations had been hit simultaneously. A gambling den in Itaewon burned to the ground. A warehouse in Seongsu was raided and cleared out. A restaurant everyone knew laundered money was shut down by sudden health code violations that appeared from nowhere. The message was clear. Kang Jihoon had declared war, and he was winning. I returned to work 2 weeks post-surgery against doctor recommendations and Kang's direct orders. The building felt different now. People looked at me differently. Whispered when I passed. Everyone knew what had happened, knew that Kang had mobilized his entire organization over my attack. I was cleaning the executive floor, moving slowly to avoid jostling my shoulder, when Kang found me. What are you doing? His voice made me jump. My job, I said, not turning around. I've been out for 2 weeks. Bills don't stop because I'm injured. You shouldn't be working yet. He crossed the space between us, gently took the cleaning supplies from my hands. Your shoulder needs time to heal. It's been 2 weeks.
I'm fine.
You're not fine. I can see you favoring your left side. See the pain in your face when you move wrong. He set the supplies down. Why are you really here? Because I need to feel normal, I admitted. Because sitting in that apartment doing nothing while you fight a gang war over me is driving me insane. Because I'm not some damsel who needs protecting. I'm just someone who got caught in the crossfire and wants her life back. His expression softened fractionally. Your life can't go back. Not after this. But we can figure out what it becomes instead. Over the following weeks, something shifted between us. Kang started appearing during my shifts, bringing coffee he'd somehow learned I took with minimal sugar and oat milk. We talked while I worked, conversations that started about nothing and evolved into everything. His childhood in Busan before his father died and left him an empire at 25. My mother's cancer diagnosis that came too late for treatment to matter. The weight of responsibilities neither of us had asked for. He showed me parts of himself I suspected no one else saw. The way he worried about families depending on his decisions. How he'd wanted to be an architect before inheriting crime empire. The scars that marked his body from years of violence he'd survived. I showed him parts of myself I'd kept hidden. The guilt over my mother's death. The feeling that I should have done more, worked harder, found better doctors. The fear that Yuna would end up sacrificing her future to death the way I had. The exhaustion of being invisible in a city of millions. One night, 6 weeks after the attack, he found me on the executive floor terrace. I discovered it while cleaning, claimed it as a space where I could breathe, watch Seoul glitter below like scattered diamonds. Your shoulder is healing well, he said, joining me at the railing. Dr. Kim says you've been diligent with physical therapy. Trying to get back to normal, I said. Whatever that means now. Does it bother you? He asked. How things changed. I considered the question honestly. Sometimes. People treat me differently now. Like I'm something fragile or dangerous or both. I'm still just me, but nobody sees that anymore. I see it. His voice was quiet. I've always seen it. That's the problem. What do you mean? He turned to face me fully. For 8 months you've been invisible in my building. Moving through spaces, doing your job, never asking for anything. Never causing trouble. And somewhere along the way, I started noticing things. How you hummed while you worked. How you organized books alphabetically even though no one told you to. How you never took breaks even though you were entitled to them. You noticed me? Surprise colored my tone. I thought I was just part of the furniture. That's what I wanted you to think. That's what I wanted myself to think. He moved closer. But then I'd find myself looking for you, timing my schedule, so I'd pass by while you were working, making excuses to be in areas you cleaned. And I told myself it meant nothing, that you were just efficient staff. Then you got hurt. And I realized I'd been lying to myself for months. My heart hammered against my healing ribs.
Kang, what are you saying?
I'm saying that watching you in that hospital bed, broken because someone used you against me, made me understand something. His dark eyes held mine with an intensity that stole my breath. You're not just staff. You haven't been for a while. And pretending otherwise isn't working anymore. I should have stepped back. Should have maintained boundaries. Instead, I found myself asking, then what am I? Something I shouldn't want and can't seem to give up. He cupped my face with one hand, thumb brushing my cheekbone.
Tell me to stop.
Tell me this is wrong, and I'll walk away. But if you feel even a fraction of what I feel, then we need to stop pretending. I didn't tell him to stop. Instead, I closed the distance between us and kissed him, soft and questioning at first, then deeper when his hand slid into my hair, and he pulled me closer. He tasted like expensive whiskey and danger, like every terrible decision I'd ever avoided making, and I couldn't get enough. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. This complicates everything, he said. I know. You'll be a target. Anyone wanting to hurt me will look at you first. I know that too. And you're still choosing this? Choosing me? I pulled back to look at him properly. You declared war over me. Paid off debt you didn't owe. Protected me when you had no obligation to. I think I chose you the moment you walked into that hospital room, like my pain personally offended you. His smile was small but genuine. Then we do this carefully. Establish boundaries. Keep you safe while building something that doesn't require you to live in a cage. We tried. We really did. But within days, the entire underworld knew that Kang Jihoon had a woman who mattered. Word spread through channels I didn't understand, reaching ears that cataloged weaknesses for future exploitation. The retaliation came 3 weeks later. A car bomb outside the apartment building detonated in the middle of the night when the garage was mostly empty. No one died, but the message was clear. Choi Dae-sung wanted me to know I wasn't untouchable. Kang's response was immediate and brutal. Within 48 hours, 5 Choi syndicate members were arrested on charges that appeared from nowhere. 2 more disappeared entirely. And Choi Dae-sung's nephew was found beaten unconscious in an alley with a message carved into his back. Touch her again, and I'll kill everyone you love. We need to talk about boundaries, I told Kang that night, standing in his penthouse office while Seoul sprawled below us. This is escalating. People are getting hurt. Maybe we should stop, take a step back before someone dies.
No.
The word was absolute. We're not stopping. We're not taking steps back. We're moving forward until every person in this city understands that hurting you means declaring war on me. Even if that starts an actual war? Even if people die? Especially then. He crossed to me, hands settling on my hips. I've spent 10 years building an empire on fear and respect. Let anyone think you're fair game, and I lose both. But more than that, Lei, I'm not willing to lose you to appease people who think violence is an acceptable negotiation tactic. His certainty should have terrified me. Instead, I felt something else. Something warm and dangerous that spread through my chest like fire. You'd really go that far? I'd burn this entire city down if it meant keeping you safe. His voice was rough with emotion I'd rarely heard from him. That's not a metaphor. That's a promise. I kissed him then, hard and desperate, pouring months of fear and want and complicated feelings into the connection between us. He responded with equal intensity, hands tightening on my hips as he backed me toward his desk. We made love in his office with Seoul glittering below us and war raging through the underworld because of us. His touch was careful around my healing shoulder, his control absolute as he moved inside me, and when I came apart in his arms, I whispered his name like a prayer to a god I'd never believed in before meeting him. Afterward, wrapped in his arms with my head on his chest, Listening to his heartbeat slow, I finally admitted what I'd been avoiding. I love you. The words emerged quiet but certain. I know I shouldn't, I know it complicates everything, but I do. His arms tightened around me. I love you too. Have for months. Since before I was ready to admit it even to myself. The war with the Choi Syndicate ended not with violence, but with economics. Kang systematically dismantled their revenue streams, cutting off suppliers, intimidating clients, making it impossible for them to operate. Within 2 months, Choi Dae-sung was bankrupt, his syndicate fractured, his power dissolved. The old man requested a meeting. Kang brought me because he said I'd earned the right to see how this ended. We met in a restaurant in Yonggu, private room in the back. Choi Dae-sung looked diminished, older than his 60 years, defeat etched into every line of his face. Mr. Kang, he said, offering his hand. Thank you for agreeing to meet. Kang shook it with bare minimum courtesy. And this is Park Lei, the woman your men used to deliver a message that cost you everything. Choi's eyes tracked over me with something like regret.
I'm sorry, he said. Truly.
That was never supposed to escalate as it did. My men exceeded orders. They beat me unconscious and left me bleeding on concrete, I said quietly. What exactly were the orders, if not that? To scare you. To make a point about territory. He looked genuinely ashamed.
Not to cause real harm.
For what it's worth, all 3 men have been dealt with internally. They won't hurt anyone again.
Good, Kang said.
Because if they had, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You'd simply be dead. The meeting ended with terms. Choi would dissolve what remained of his syndicate. Leave Seoul entirely. Never return. In exchange, Kang wouldn't pursue further action against him or his family. Mercy, Kang explained in the car afterward, isn't weakness. It's strategic. Choi's nephew now runs what's left of their operations, and he's someone I can work with. Someone who understands the cost of challenging me. Because of what happened to me, I said. I'm the example everyone in the underworld will remember.
Yes.
He took my hand. Does that bother you? It should, I admitted. Being the reason for violence, for people getting hurt. But honestly, knowing that men who beat me unconscious faced consequences, knowing that I mattered enough for you to go to war over?
No.
That doesn't bother me at all. 3 months later, Dr. Kim cleared me completely. No restrictions, no physical therapy, no lingering damage. My shoulder had healed perfectly, leaving only a thin scar from the surgery and memories I'd learned to manage. You're officially healthy, Kang said that evening, pulling me into his arms in the penthouse bedroom I'd quietly started thinking of as ours. No more excuses for me to coddle you. You're still going to though, I said, smiling against his chest. Absolutely. But now you can't claim it's medically necessary. We'd found a rhythm that worked. 5 nights a week in the penthouse with him. 2 nights in the apartment with Yuna, maintaining some semblance of normal life. I'd officially become his personal assistant, a role that paid more than I'd ever imagined earning and involved actually interesting work. Managing his legitimate business interests, organizing meetings, handling correspondence. The underworld adapted. People stopped seeing me as a weakness and started seeing me as an extension of Kang's power. Someone who carried influence, who had his ear, whose opinions actually mattered. It was intoxicating and terrifying in equal measure. One evening in April, 7 months after the parking garage attack, Kang led me to the terrace where we'd first kissed. Seoul spread below us in its usual glittering splendor, but something felt different. He seemed nervous in a way I'd never seen before. What's wrong? I asked. Nothing's wrong. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Everything is actually more right than I ever thought possible. My breath caught. Kang, what are you doing? Something I should have done months ago. He opened the box, revealing a ring that caught starlight, and held it. Park Lei, you walked into my building invisible and ended up being the most visible part of my entire life. You survived being used as a weapon against me and somehow decided I was worth choosing anyway. His voice roughened with emotion. I'm not a good man. I do terrible things to maintain power. But with you, I want to be better. I want to deserve you. So I'm asking, will you marry me? I should have hesitated. Should have considered implications, asked for time to think. Instead, the answer came immediately and absolutely.
Yes.
He slid the ring onto my finger with hands that trembled slightly, then pulled me into a kiss that tasted like promise and future, and everything we'd fought for. We were married 6 weeks later in a small ceremony attended by Yuna, Minsik, and a handful of people we actually trusted. Nothing extravagant, nothing public. Just two people who'd found each other through violence and chose to build something better from the wreckage. Our wedding night, Kang carried me over the threshold of the penthouse I now officially lived in, set me down gently in the bedroom, and said the words I'd been waiting months to hear.
You're mine now. Legali, ufficiali, irrevocabili.
And I'm yours the same way. We made love with Seoul as our witness. Two people who'd started as employee and employer, evolved through violence and protection into something neither of us had known we needed. His touch was reverent, worshipful, like I was something precious he'd fought wars to keep. Afterward, lying in his arms with his ring on my finger and the weight of our choices settling around us like armor, I thought about that parking garage 7 months ago. The terror, the pain, the certainty that I was dying alone on cold concrete. If I could go back, would I change it? Would I avoid working late, park somewhere else, take a different route that night?
No, irrealis.
Because that night, terrible as it was, led to this. To being seen, to being protected, to being loved by a man who'd literally fought a war to keep me safe. To discovering I was stronger than I'd ever imagined, capable of surviving violence and coming out more whole on the other side. Do you regret any of it? Kang asked quietly, like he could read my thoughts. How we started, what it cost, everything that happened. I turned to look at him in the darkness. This man who'd seen me when I was invisible, who'd declared war over my pain, who'd paid off debt he didn't owe and protected me when he had no obligation to. Not for a second, I said. Every terrible thing led me to you. I'd do it all again, if this was the ending. His arms tightened around me. This isn't the ending. This is just the beginning. And lying there in the dark, soul glittering through floor-to-ceiling windows, his heartbeat steady against my back and our future unfolding like pages yet to be written, I believed him. We'd been forged in violence, built on danger, sustained by choices that defied every logical boundary.
But we'd survived.
We'd chosen each other. And in a city full of millions of invisible people, I'd found the one person who saw me completely and loved me anyway.
The end.
If this story grabbed you by the heart and wouldn't let go, hit that like button and smash subscribe for more intense romances that'll keep you up way past midnight. Drop a comment and tell me, would you risk everything for a love this dangerous? And hey, stick around because we've got more stories coming that'll wreck you in the best possible way. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. You're the real MVPs.